We're back with another episode of Mac Stories Unwind. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We've got some picks for everybody today. Some really good picks, I think. I did not realize that what your picks were going to be until I opened up the notes, and here I am, confronted with two interesting picks. What do you got for me?
All right, so I got a couple of picks. The first one is season 2 of a show that I think I mentioned last year, and we are now watching again. So the show is How I Met Your Father, season 2.
Okay, I know nothing about this.
So How I Met Your Father is like the modern sequel. Well, it's not a sequel. It's like you know How I Met Your Mother, right?
Yes.
The show that was everywhere like a decade ago. And a couple of years ago, this project to tell a similar story, but from the perspective of a girl instead of a young man, was approved. And so they did the first season of How I Met Your Father, starring Hilary Duff. And, it's the same template where the mother in the future sits in front of a video call with her kids. You never see her kids. You just see the future mom retelling the story of 20 years prior and how, in this case, she met their kid's father. And it's a sitcom and, classic template of How I Met Your Mother. You got this group of friends who hang out at each other's apartments or usually at the Pemberton's bar in New York City. It's uncomplicated and enjoyable. And of course, what I liked about the first season of How I Met Your Mother was all the references and all the throwbacks to the original series. And without sharing too many spoilers, the same is true for season 2 of How I Met Your Father. We're only up to episode 3. It picks up directly where season 1 left off. Something that I appreciated is that there's a recap. There's an official recap before you begin season 2, episode 1. And that catches you up to speed in like 3 minutes. Super easy to remember a bunch of details. But then, it picks up directly where it left off like a year and a half or something ago, I think. And it's enjoyable. It's something that you watch before bed, 20 minutes per episode. And It's a very easy story. I had to jump through a series of hoops to be able to watch this.
Yeah.
I don't think if I told you before. Anyway, on Disney Plus in Italy, I could see a placeholder for How I Met Your Father season 2. I believe that the season is now wrapped up in the US. And in the US, it's available on Hulu. And I saw a placeholder for season 2 in Disney Plus in Italy without any episodes. So I just figured, okay, maybe that's coming soon. And so I started, that was February. And so I started waiting. And then the episodes actually never appeared. And a week ago, I noticed they actually removed the placeholder for season 2 on Disney Plus in Italy. And so I was really fed up with this inability to watch a season that actually ended in the US. And Sylvia was asking me about it. So I don't know what I did, but what I did worked. I used the VPN. I used the VPN, downloaded the Hulu app from the App Store.
Yeah.
Hold on, because this is going to get weird. I downloaded the Hulu app. I logged in with my Italian Disney Plus credentials.
Okay.
And I signed up for a month of Hulu via the App Store. So I think right now, my quote-unquote Disney Plus account has access to both Disney Plus in Italy and Hulu in the US.
That's not surprising in the sense that is a common bundle you can do here. Is Hulu, Disney, and ESPN are the three that they bundle here in the United States.
So I accidentally bundled myself. Okay.
You did, and obviously they have not thought through the process of, because you can kind of like create those bundles from either end, starting with Disney or starting with Hulu here.
Okay.
And so what they haven't accounted for is someone with an email address that is associated with a location in Italy doing that with a US account for Hulu, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah. but it works. And I'm now, when I'm not on the VPN, I can watch Disney Plus in Italy. And when I am, I can watch Hulu. And so, yeah, How I Met Your Father, that's how I'm watching it. I start the show on my iPhone. I AirPlay it to my Apple TV in the bedroom, and it works. That is also how I was watching The Last of Us on HBO Max, because we do not have HBO Max in Italy. So I use the same method. VPN on the iPhone, AirPlay to the Apple TV. Totally works.
Yeah, I guess that's probably easier than the fussy, because a lot of the VPNs and things you can do on an Apple TV are a little fussy, aren't they?
Yeah. Yep. It never works for me. That approach never works. The one thing I will say about How I Met Your Father is that I appreciate as the future version of Hilary Duff is played by Kim Cattrall, who you may know from a little show from a few years ago called Sex and the City. So right. Kim Cattrall plays, Samantha on Sex and the City, and plays future Sophie is the name of the character on How I Met Your Father. And the future retelling takes place in the year 2050. So that's like 30 years from now. And the one thing I don't know is whether the show has been renewed for a season 3 or not. I hope it does, because it's the kind of show that I love, and it's super easy to watch with Sylvia before bed. We tried watching, I don't know if you've seen this, John, before starting How I Met Your Father, we tried to watch Schmigadoon on Apple TV Plus.
I don't like that show at all.
Yeah, we didn't like it. We didn't get it.
I watched like 2 episodes. I was like, this was the worst Apple TV Plus show I've ever seen. I mean, I do know people who like it, but it's just not my thing at all.
Yeah, we love musicals, but I didn't get it either. My second pick for today, just a quick update on a previous pick of the show. I am playing once again Pokémon Scarlet. I am back. I am in the right mindset now, and I feel like in many ways I wasn't. I had previously put in 16 hours into the game, but I wasn't really, I don't think I was ready for it in November. At the time, my mind was too occupied with house stuff, and I wasn't just in the right place for this game. Version 1.3 with more bug fixes came out last night. I started playing again a few days ago, so I appreciate that my timing, once again, is pretty spot on. I didn't know there was an update coming, but here we are. And yeah, I'm finally enjoying this game. The open world approach and the giant map finally clicked for me. And look, this game is not pretty to look at. And what's really especially weird is that some areas look better than others. Like, for example, right now I'm doing this area, like I just did one of their Titan Pokemon, and after the desert area, which looked absolutely horrible. It was so empty, and with all these hills and rocks with jagged edges, like it looked so ugly. I'm now in this, I believe it's called the Tag Tree Thicket. It's like a forest area, and it looks pretty nice. It's lush and colorful and full of trees. So it's like in some areas they ran out of money and time, and in others they didn't. It's very weird how the game looks.
The one that sticks with me, Federico, are those low walls in the town around the school, because that's when you and I got that whole setup with the cables and the adapters to try to make it look 4K. And there's only so much you can do, and those rock walls are a great example of just really bad textures.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm enjoying this game now. It's probably gonna be a while before I can finish the 3 separate storylines. Right? You can do the Team Star bases, you can do the Titan Pokemon, and you can do the gym badges and the Victory Road path afterwards. It's gonna be a while until I reach the post game, but I'm playing a couple of hours each night, and yeah, I have now for this game the enthusiasm that I was missing in November, and I think it's just in time. I got about 3 weeks, about a month left before a little thing called Tears of the Kingdom comes out.
Right.
And so my plan was to finish at least the story of this game before Zelda, and then it's going to be just probably Zelda for multiple months.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's probably hard to follow Elden Ring with Pokemon Scarlet too, in a way. I mean,
that was all. Yes.
It's like a weird transition.
I wasn't ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I bounced off of Scarlet a little bit myself, and I need to go back to it. I don't know, it just didn't grab me right away, and so now I feel like I should start fresh from the very beginning and just see how it is. But myself, I've been playing Breath of the Wild, and it's just been a really long time since I played Breath of the Wild, and it's so much fun to kind of revisit and rediscover things that I had kind of forgotten about. And in contrast to the way Pokemon Scarlet looks, Breath of the Wild looks really good for given the hardware. It looks really good. So I've really been enjoying that. It's getting me very, very excited for
Nice.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
All right. So my pick this week is a Paramount Plus show called Rabbit Hole, starring Kiefer Sutherland. Now, this has some roots in shows like 24, which was on for like a decade on Fox, which Kiefer Sutherland played a spy in that one. And here he's a different kind of spy. He plays John Weir, who is a corporate espionage guy. And they kind of set the stage here in the very first scene of the show, in the pilot episode, where he's in a bar and he's hanging out, he's watching the TV, and there's some finance bros in the corner talking stocks and bonds and things. And all of a sudden on the TV, there's a news alert about the stock that they're talking about and how it's going to tank in the morning because of this thing that happened. And the guy, gets on his phone and he calls and furiously tells, someone, sell all of our positions. And so he sells all of his stock. And then later you discover that what really happened in that restaurant while he was sitting at the bar is that Kiefer Sutherland, John Weir, and his team had very carefully manipulated this guy into selling his stock. They had one of the people had sat at the table next to them and was having a conversation that the person overheard that was something about, there's going to be big news from this company. And then when the TV newscast came on and said there's going to be terrible news announced in the morning, it was also faked through technology. This is one of those shows where all sorts of whiz-bang stuff happens because, somehow they were able to access the feed to the TV and create a fake news report about this company that the guy saw and then he sold. And that allowed John Weir's client to make a lot of money. So that's his thing. He's like manipulating people for a living, doing corporate espionage work. And that's the setup. What ends up happening is that he's then hired by his childhood friend to do a job. And he goes off and does this job and finds himself then framed for the death of his childhood friend. I don't want to go into too many of the details, but basically the setup all happens in this first episode where he goes out to do another job. His friend ends up dying and he's framed for it. And he doesn't know what's going on. And you get the sense very quickly that just in the same way that he plays people and manipulates the reality around them, he's now being manipulated. And the entire show revolves around these layers and layers and layers of deception and espionage and conspiracy that you never know what's what, who's who, and what the next twist is going to be. It's just like twist after twist after twist, which is why it's called Rabbit Hole, because you very quickly become disoriented, not realizing who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, what are the motivations? Is this person dead, or was their death faked in order to manipulate this other person? It's very off the deep end in a lot of ways, but in a fun way. I mean, it's got a lot of technology involved, which I thought makes it kind of fun. It reminded me in this really weird way of Sherlock Holmes on PBS, which, that's the one where Benedict Cumberbatch plays Sherlock Holmes, and the mysterious Moriarty, who is kind of this force in the background that is manipulating world events. And the same thing is going on here. There is the ultimate bad guy in Rabbit Hole, who is a faceless person who's orchestrating this incredibly complex conspiracy in order to try to take over the US government. And that's kind of where things are going. And Kiefer Sutherland just does a really nice job of being kind of this middle-aged, wisecracking, dark humor kind of guy who's incredibly paranoid and doesn't really trust anyone. And so he ends up hooking up with, a couple of other characters, his father, as well as some people he meets along the way. And I don't want to get into too many details there, but there's financial intrigue, there's spine, there's all kinds of stuff going on here. Big explosions, action, cliffhangers, the whole 9 yards.
Nice.
It's
okay.
It's fun. It's about 4 episodes in so far. So 4 out of 8, and it's on. New ones are coming out on Sundays on Paramount Plus, which is one of those kind of also ran streaming services, I think. I mean, there's not a ton on Paramount Plus that I watch, but there are a couple of shows we found, and I was able to get it really cheap for like Black Friday. So we've got it for a year, and I'm trying a few things out, and this is one of the best things that I've found so far.
Nice. I'll check it out.
All right. Well, Federico, that's it for another episode of Mac Stories Unwind. We will be back again next week. You can find the two of us over at macstories.net. We're on Mastodon, where you can follow us by just going to vitici.macstories.net or johnvorhees.macstories.net. And of course, we're on Instagram, where Federico is at Vitici. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.